Yo, what's up, everyone?
What's going on? What's going on? Doing
Party
it.
starting on day one. It's podcast episode one. We got DROD and the Shaniac
Mm-hmm.
coming to you live from quarantine.
Or
It's been a year.
like
It's been
10
too long,
months.
though. No, man, I know.
Oh my God.
We got to get out of this soon. I know vaccinations are coming out. And people are happy and excited. The sports are back. That's the main part of it. It's they never really left. They were a little awkward last year, but we're on to this year. They're on time. They're not disappointing.
Remember that 3 month stretch from like March to, to June where we were just
There
sitting
was
home like
nothing.
watching like beanbag tossing on
Oh,
ESPN. We were like, yeah,
I'm pretty sure
sport.
ESPN had like, if it wasn't like 30 for 30 reruns, it was like
Oh man.
championship dart throwing, championship cornhole, like stuff that you just don't want to see that, bro. Like it's
That
not TV worth.
MJ, that MJ documentary saved 2020.
It actually did.
Oh man, I was like, yo, are we really sitting home watching like what's it called that in the
uh,
Olympics?
uh, no, not shuffleboarding. You know what it
Oh
is.
yeah, whatever that thing is. We were like
Curling,
watching curling, and
curling,
we were
curling.
like USA, like chanting, and it's like, what? Are
The
we serious right now?
Hey, we got Olympics this year too. That's
Mm,
makeup from last year. I'm actually looking forward to
me
those. I'm
too.
glad those are back, kind of bringing back, things we missed from 2016, I guess. But
I'm so
uh,
excited.
hey, sports world. This is episode one. What a year it's been. Let's talk about this one though. It's 2021, new year. This is D Rod, uh, Yankees fan, as you can see, repping since I was born, probably. But it changes up. I'm a Patriots fan. I'm not a New York football fan. I know
How?
Shane knows. It's a long story. I'll get into that. That's in depth. It takes time. But I'll take it back to New York when I rep the Knicks. I'm sorry that
Even that? How?
we are where
Like,
we are. Listen, man. I gotta stick to somewhere. I gotta stick to New York. Um, I
hmm.
was born there, I guess. So I gotta rep whatever's there. But Shane, where you at?
I'm a Yankees fan. Anybody else that's not a Yankees fan, reevaluate. I don't understand how you could not be a Yankee fan.
That's a fact.
Um, I'm a Nets fan, uh, diehard Nets from Jersey.
Jersey proud. That's
I feel like it was because of like the Dare program and the Great program, how they used to give us
right.
tickets, and I
These
used to
are
go, and I used to be like, oh, this
the
is so fun.
nosebleeds.
I used to
Cheering
be
from the
so
nose.
hyped, like this is so fun. Like I feel like that's when I became a Nets fan.
Nah, those are good
Um,
times. The
oh
VC3
yeah,
era. Jason
VC3,
Kidd,
Jason Kidd,
Richard
RJ.
Jefferson. Oh man.
Come on now. And then I'm a Giants fan. Um, I always liked football, but I never really cared about it until let me say 2006. So like when I was like 10 years old, I was like, yo, football is actually kind of fun. Like I wouldn't want to play it, but I was like, this is kind of fun. And then the Giants went on that run, and I was like, bro, wild card team in the Super Bowl. So it was like one of those things. But yeah, and if I had to choose a hockey team, I'd probably go Islanders. Like I know we're from Jersey, so we should be Devils fans, but
You'd be Devils fans.
like no Islanders. Yeah. Um,
Hey man.
let's
I
get into
mean,
this.
listen, we got the major three sports in there. It's
Yeah.
baseball, football, basketball. That's where it's at. All right.
Yeah.
Like
All
it's
right.
where the money's going. It's where the TV's going. That's where we're going. That's the
Yeah,
big
for
three
the
that we're.
most part. I do want to go to a hockey game. I'm not gonna hold you,
Hockey games are fun. I
but
won't. I won't hold you.
I'm good. I'm I'll pass off watching that on TV.
Yeah, no. TV time is more for what's going
One
on right
hundred
now.
percent. 100
Yeah,
percent.
you got a lot of stuff going on in sports now. Baseball's in the beginning stretches of their off season. A lot of trades going around. Usually around this time, new coaches come in, new players, new teams. Shane, we recently discussed the Blake Snell to San Diego. It's uh, it's big, to say the least. It's big.
I feel like it's kind of bad though.
Where's that at?
Like it's kind of bad for baseball for a team that already was bottom 3 or 4 in the league in payroll to say we can't afford this guy. let's get rid of him. And it's like he was making 10 million a year. Like you can't afford $10 million, especially
It's
in a year where we're gonna have fans back.
it's the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, you kind of look at the team and how they went into that World Series last year as the for real. If there was a definition of an underdog, it was that. It was that team, 100%, man, a
You
hundred
sure?
percent.
People
Oh,
had them as like a top three World Series favorite in the AL.
they listen in the American League, they did finish at the one seed, so I'll give them that. And like in terms of talent, in terms of pitching, young core, uh, fairly new manager who had a decent amount of time under his belt. It's it's tough to say that they were a team that wasn't gonna succeed. They were gonna succeed. It was more so that like no one expected them to be number one seeded AL, you know, whatever home field advantage meant at that point in
Yeah, like
quarantine.
they
But
expected the
listen,
Yankees to be number one,
I expected it. We
but
had just gotten Garrett Cole. That
yeah,
was
but
this was our year, as we
they
say every.
weren't far behind. Like no one thought they were going to be like a third place AL East team. Like people said they were 1A. Like
Yeah,
people
yeah, yeah, yeah.
expected them to be rivals to the Yankees to make the World Series. It just so happened that everything that could go wrong for us this year went wrong.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about what happened that time. We'll save that for the baseball discussion. But in terms of Tampa, I mean, you take that mix of player, coach, and pitching staff. That what did he say? What did Cash say? That guys who can throw, whatever he said
Yeah,
about
a stable of
stable
a
of
stable
horse,
of guys that could
stable
throw
guys.
100 miles an hour, and it's like,
It's
cool. What does that mean?
uh, what ended up happening was them going to the World Series, and baseball fans, we all saw what happened. But the better team got the best of them, and that was the LA Dodgers this year. They were the better team, no doubt.
They the Rays made it there because of one man and one man only, Babe Ruth. The Cuban Babe Ruth, Randy Arozarena, is the only reason why they made it to the World Series, and the reason why they lost the World Series should be the last reason why you lose the World Series because of your manager.
Yeah.
Because Kevin Cash decided, I don't care if Blake Snell threw 60 something pitches through six and a third. I'm gonna take him out. I don't care.
Shane, the funniest stat I saw come out of that series was there's only two pitchers in World Series history, I think, that pitched 7 innings, allow no hits, right?
I think he one hit. I think he had one hit
One
extra
hit.
time. Yeah.
Okay, allow one hit and X amount of strikeouts. I'm gonna get back to that number. I think he had at that point he probably had like
Nine.
8 or 9.
Eight
Yeah.
or nine, yeah.
So the only two pitchers are Blake Snell, game two of that series,
Yeah.
and Blake
But
Snell,
no, game
game
game five.
six of that
Game
series.
six.
I tell you, I saw that stat on Twitter, and I literally went, "Where, like, what aspect of analytics tells you otherwise? What aspect of
Hey,
baseball tells you let's can him?"
his numbers third time through the order were horrendous the entire year.
Not against the Dodgers.
Not against the Dodgers. And also Mookie Betts was horrible against lefties this year.
Yeah. And what happened right after they took him out?
He put in a righty. What does he do? Single up the middle. It's
He
like the
puts
guy
in the game.
couldn't touch a pitch that was thrown from Blake Snell that entire game, the entire series.
Yeah.
I think he was like 0 for
It was
4,
the
like 4 strikeouts or something
It
ridiculous.
was the entire series. He had 4 strikeouts. You're right.
Like you took him out? Are you nuts? Oh man, let's move on because we're gonna save all of
Baseball.
this for the baseball. Yeah, as you
What
can
a
see,
year.
baseball is our favorite sport. We can go on in baseball forever.
And I mean, yeah, we'll go on from there. Also, the Dodgers ended up getting Yu Darvish, another
Oh,
bolster.
no, the Padres got you, Darvish.
Whoa, I'm sorry, I misspoke. The
I was about to say they
Padres,
got both of them.
the
The
Padres
Padres
got
saved baseball.
Darvish.
If
They're
it
good.
wasn't for them, nothing would have happened this until recently.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, they basically took up most of those trade scenarios and said we're
Yeah.
bolstering our team this year. We're gonna make sure the National League's got a contender for sure. I didn't expect them to be. They were first round exits this past year.
No,
Still no?
they
The
made it
second
to
one?
the division series. They lost to.
Dodgers.
Did they lose to the Dodgers?
I know they finished second in uh in the
They
NL.
lost. They lost to the Dodgers.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think they got swept.
yes, they got swept this year. Last year, 2020, to the Dodgers. That was in four game. No,
4 games. It might have been 4 because they definitely didn't get swept. Whoa,
it
who
was
that?
three. It was three
They got
because
swept. Oh god, that's
yeah,
bad.
3 games they got swept. Because wild card was best 2 out of 3.
Yeah,
NLDS was 3 out of 5, and CS was
7. Yeah,
4-7. But yeah, so Padres are second round exits to the Dodgers last year in 2020. Definitely looking to bolster their team for 21. And I think they're World Series contenders, definitely going up against the Dodgers again. Hopefully against the Yankees. I mean, that's basically where we are every year, Shane. Just waiting for the Yankees to get their moment. This past decade was atrocious, just to say the least.
low
Just
key. I was listening to Carton and Roberts on the way
yeah,
home from work, and low key because they were talking about how Yankees fans are spoiled and this,
we
that,
are.
and the third. And their whole thing was they were like, when was the last time the Yankees were under 500? And they said it was 1992. And they were like, all the Yankees have done the last 2 decades was each decade won almost 1,000 games. That means we're averaging close to 100 games a season every year. I think they said we won 970 something games in the 2000s and then 920 something games in the 2010s. And they were like, the Yankees, that's like by far the best in all of baseball. I think the closest one is the
Yeah,
Astros. No, not even the Astros. I think the closest one, the Cardinals or something like that, or the
yeah.
Dodgers. The Dodgers are pretty close because the Dodgers have always been good. But they were like, why are the Yankees fans complaining when they were like, but we're like, we haven't even made a World Series since 2009. And everybody, we're like, Mets fans, yes, you guys have your years of fourth place finishes, but you guys were in the World Series in 2015. There's no excuse for the Yankees to not even make one. We barely even made the ALCS. I think we made it like 5 times in the decade, which is a lot. It's half the
Yeah.
years. But when we're coming from winning 4 out of 5 years, making it to six, I mean, making it to 6 World Series in 8 years, like
Yeah, man. Yeah. Listen, I'll double you. I'll double down on that. As the Yankees fans, we are a little spoiled, and when we expect from our team, it's literally at the top. Like our expectations are World Series every year. We're, you know, the last decade or so has not been in our favor,
no,
and
I
we
don't care
can't
about
complain
winning. We
because
need to win the whole thing.
I know. And listen, obviously, it doesn't mean anything if you don't get the ring at the end.
Yeah.
That's where we are. That's where most sports are. That's where the top athletes are. LeBron, Tom Brady, retired Peyton Manning, all the things they do or they did before they retired or are going, to make legends of themselves, Hall of Famers. They're going to win rings. No one wants to finish a Charles Barkley. No one wants to finish a superstar that was never able to do it all, right? Like
Think
it's
about it like this:
yeah,
Drew Brees holds basically every passing record known to man.
yeah.
Well, what do people call him? Just one of the greats. He's not
It's,
the GOAT because he only has one Super Bowl. One. I
which
don't
was a
we don't
great
care.
series against the Colts, but
Yeah.
still,
We don't
yeah,
care about 13-3 every year. We don't care about that. We don't care about 5,000 passing yards every year. No one cares. You have one ring. You've been in the league for 14 years. You have one ring? No, you didn't do your job. Tom
it's
Brady
it,
has like
yeah.
7. It feels like he has 10. He has 6. It feels like he has
That's
10.
six. It feels well. I mean, he's been to 10, so those 10. And listen, the Giants took 2 away from
Yeah.
him. So
Thank you.
every year after that has always been a Tom Brady on a mission for a ring. That's why he's still playing right now. Is
And
to
to the rest of the
make him
world,
play.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Tom Brady really could have won 10.
Oh,
He really
so
could have.
all the football fans out there, which
The NFC least that everybody likes to call us is the only division that beat him. And we beat him 3 times. I'll take it. That's fine with me. I'll take it. I don't care about the Eagles, but let's get into that. How about that? The stupid Eagles. Well, you know what? You know what?
Man.
You know what? Let's
Listen, man, we got a whole football
let's
episode
save that to the
planned.
football episode because that
It's
was
gonna be Shane's episode. I've handed it to him
oh
because he's
man.
gonna take you high. He's got a rant. All right.
Oh
I hope you
man.
are ready. If you're a Giants fan, you have to tune into this one because Shane's
Ooh,
gonna be on your level. You are
the
going to
anger.
understand him.
I mean,
Shane,
I was on the edge of my seat when I saw that happen. I just went. I was like, yo, I turned a PS4 on. I turned the game on. I was like, whatever. I'm not watching it.
take the mind off of it. You couldn't bear to see any
Hmm.
more of that, any more of this.
I couldn't believe it. I literally couldn't believe what I was watching.
Shane, 2020 is a year in review. We saw a lot of sports started off a little rocky, especially with the pandemic going on. A lot of leagues kind of scrambled last minute to get their stuff together. A lot of players pitching in. Definitely a lot of like payroll issues. A lot of like union discrepancies. Players want to play full seasons, want to make their money, and rightfully so. But at the same time, they want to play safely, and the league had to provide that safety. There were a lot of like ups and downs, a lot of mishaps, a lot of leagues we saw. Mostly baseball had to cancel a lot of games. Baseball was a rough start in what was that, April, May? I think May, late May, right after Memorial Day, and immediately we saw Yankees national game gets put on TV, ESPN.
Oh, that was
Great series.
that was August. That was July.
That was July. Wait, it was
Yeah,
after July 4th. That's what it was. I'm
I
thinking
remember
national
that.
holiday.
The
And
Yankees played on the road with the
yeah,
home uniforms
Washington.
on or something like that.
Yeah. Two days after that, we find out the Nationals are in contact with players who had or coaches who had COVID, and it's all downhill from there. People are thinking, but a lot of these leagues they had protocols put into place,
Failed.
people in order. Wanted to make sure this thing went through. Personally, from your own perspective, let's say, how do you think baseball, football, basketball? How do you think the bubble, just the seasons in general? How do you think those went?
If I in a perfect world, everybody would have done what the NBA did.
Yeah,
But like
agreed.
everyone complains, oh, why didn't you just put MLB and the NFL in a bubble? And it's like 15 players, 40,
Hmm.
85.
Yeah,
Like you 15 people, put them in a bubble, we're all good. Peachy, clean, rosy. Let's do it. When you start hitting 40, and you get close to 100 people, and that's just players, not coaches, um, trainers, none of that. Just the players. The NBA can put 15 people. That's easy. That's one hotel. When you start with 15 per team, you can use that in one hotel. When you start getting up to near 100 people per team, like it's not possible. So you have to
yeah,
just
man.
trust. And who was it? I think it was George Hill. It was recently. It was like yesterday. He tweeted out. He was like, "I'm a grown man. You're not gonna tell me what I can and can't do. And if I have to stop myself from living my life just to play basketball, we should not be playing." And when he said that, I said, "That's why all of these protocols failed at
Yeah,
some point."
yeah.
The
I
Yankee
mean,
and MLB, like let's use MLB for example. They
yeah,
didn't a lot of the rules that they came up with were like on the fly. They didn't warn anybody about any of those things.
right.
Well, playing every series in San Diego, it's like you tell me that 3 days before the season's over. Now I have to tell my family to quarantine. Like they had to quarantine a whole week before the season was done because they want the families to go with them. You
Yeah.
understand? You understand?
No,
Like
no, I'm completely resonating with you on that. Like, I mean, listen, a lot of these players didn't even see their families. They gave up their family time to play sports. And,
yep.
aside from what George Hill said, which is probably the most educated standpoint someone can take from all this, is, before work, before, passion comes like your life, bro. Like you don't want to put that at risk, your health, your well-being. I mean, people were talking back in April and May, how incapacitating this virus really was. People were losing like the ability to breathe,
Yep.
aside from taste and smell, or like brain function, muscle function. There were greater depths to this than we like foresaw, obviously. But as an athlete, you gotta think, this is my selling point, my career. Like,
My business.
if I catch COVID, like that could end my career. It's not just the virus. It's literally everything that comes with that.
Freddie
Uh,
Freeman thought he was gonna die. He's literally
yeah,
said he's I don't care about baseball. I just want to live.
yeah. That listen, these guys they're human. They get scared. This was probably a terrible time for them to have to go through that, and especially the ones who had caught COVID. How about the college players who, you know, unpaid, are constantly putting themselves at risk alone
Yep.
from playing the sports they love? Just because the school needed some extra money this year, or despite having fans and a lot of those SEC games, those Midwest games, and even a couple up here, you gotta you gotta take care of these guys, right? Like,
Yep.
these are futures, these are Hall of Famers, these are like your number one guys to some extent, right? Like, you pay them basically to be here, even though they don't get paid. But
They're working on that though.
yeah,
I,
that's
I
their
feel
end
like
goal.
I feel like everything good happens after we're done with it. Like if granted it wouldn't have changed anything because I just wasn't good enough to play in college. But like if I had known like yo, you get play in college, I probably would have tried a little harder.
uh, Hello. There's a lot of
Um,
incentive that comes with that. Definitely.
exactly.
Shane, we played baseball for some odd years. We knew where that was. We knew what could have been. But there's also a lot of effort that comes with that, right?
Exactly. I was never the type of guy to go, oh, it's January. Baseball starts in 3 months. Let me go to the batting cage. It's like, nah, I'm good.
I knew it
Uh,
was there, and I knew to like kind of make the effort for it, but it just I didn't have the consistency for it, right? Like, if I went one weekend and be like, man, that felt good to get back in the cages, I'd need like a month break before I was like back into it. And then like baseball season comes around and I'm like, oh yeah, I play this. Or yeah, it's like, oh yeah.
I remember one of the funniest moments of my entire baseball life was what year was it? Sophomore year
Yeah.
when we're doing the joint JV varsity practice before we like the first day. So it's not really tryouts, but it was like we all were just there together. No freshmen. It was just sophomores to seniors.
Yeah.
And instead of like taking BP, we're just like let's scrimmage. And they threw us. I think you remember this.
I do remember this.
And and Rodriguez,
Yeah.
he threw a pitch like head level, and I looked at it and I was like, "This is the first pitch I've seen in like 7 months. I'm gonna swing as hard as I can," and it was above my head, and I swung as hard as I could, and I missed, and I could hear Coach K like, "God damn it, man!"
Ugh.
He said that, and as soon as that happened, I knew I was like, "There's no way I'm making varsity." I just accepted my fate. I was like, "I'm JV. That's it."
That was the same scrimmage where I think told me to just call my own balls and strikes.
Mhm.
I'm sitting behind the plate already like sweating, not half blocking balls in the dirt, half letting them pass me. He's like, "Dang, call your own balls and strikes." I'm like, "Coach, I don't want to do that." And he's like, "I'm not doing it. It's your scrimmage. It's your game. You do it." And I called whatever the hell came to me, Shane. If it wasn't down the middle, I let it go.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's preseason.
Good times,
It's the
man.
first scrimmage we saw that year. It was
That
a lot more than I think we wanted to like get through
that day
for
was
six
bad.
months.
It was from that moment I was like, "There's no shot I make varsity. Like, there's none." I was like, I accepted my. Granted, like, I already knew it because they still had all the goons like that were still playing varsity that like
Of
actually
course.
played college ball, and I'm like, "There's no shot I'm making it." But
Yeah.
like, I still wanted a chance. After that day, I was like, "Yeah, varsity.
Those
I mean,
those
JV.
teams
That's it."
when we were like sophomore, junior year, those teams had players. Like,
Yeah,
if anything, we were playing like to get spots like for the
exactly.
future. It's that's what at that level what that is anyway. I mean, it's a lot to once you get to college, that's your career pretty
Oh
much.
yeah.
Bro, I remember being at Lehigh. I just wanted to like play basketball at the gym with a couple of my friends, and
Hmm.
it would be closed off to people trying out from like the club basketball team to make the basketball team. I'm like, oh my god, like, They took out the whole gym. Like,
Yeah.
this is the one basketball court we got on campus, and they took it the whole thing out just to play ball, just to make that team. D1 ball is different. You go
Yeah.
to Rutgers, you know exactly what that is, dog.
I
That's
almost played club ball. I really wanted to. Um, it was one of my boys actually played club ball, like, and he was like, "Yo, you should come out. Like, we don't have any bigs." And I'm like, "Bro, I'm 6 foot. Like, I was like 6'1". And I'm like, "You expect me to go like club ball? People still ball
yeah.
heavy. Like, you want me to go out there against some 6'5" guys so you could just like, nah,
The
I'm good."
funniest part about like club sports, even intramurals to an extent, is that once you're over 6 feet, you're big.
You're big.
You're big. That's it. Like that's the threshold.
And it's like,
I was
no,
playing.
that's not
I
how it
was
works.
playing power forward center. I could not stand in the 3 point line. I was only in the paint and like down by like the baseline. That was it.
That's it.
That was it.
That's it.
Uh, Dog. This season, I mean, we saw a lot of teams that really propelled themselves, especially in like baseball. A lot of teams in that expanded playoff format came through, showed what they had. Same time, there's a lot of teams that just like continuously like just suffering. I feel bad for those fans out there. Like, the New York Jets, Jacksonville Jaguars, the sorry to say it, the New York Mets. I mean,
I don't think they suffered.
I think they suffer in the sense that a lot of these teams they come in with the minds, or a lot of the fans at least have a mindset that these teams are coming in to win games, right? Like not to get blown out, not to get embarrassed in like playing scenarios. Like I don't know. Yeah, I'll give you like the Jets early on this season. Like I think the second game of their season, San Francisco 49ers like gave up 3 rushing touchdowns, like 3 different running backs, defense non-existent, quarterback got hurt. Like that's just one example, and that's football. But baseball, you see teams like get blown out with no pitching, get shut down with no hitting. Basketball teams with no defense. Bradley Beal said the other day we couldn't guard a parked car in
And they
Washington,
and they couldn't.
and they couldn't. And that's the sad part. But there's a lot of fans that even through the pandemic had to just watch their team just from home get dismantled this year. I mean,
I
what
feel
do you think on that?
I feel I feel more so bad for the players. I don't think the fans really suffer because you got to save your money. You still got to watch baseball. You still got to watch football. You still got to watch basketball. Whatever the sport is, you still got to watch it, and you got to sit home in your own couch. Like, granted, there's nothing like being in the arena or the stadium, but you got
True.
to sit home and watch your sport. You didn't have to spend a dime. I feel like the players suffered more than we did because one, there's nothing like getting cheered on. Two, there's nothing like getting booed. Like, I don't care if you don't want to get booed. Hearing somebody get booed is a great feeling.
It's that emotion. There's emotion.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like they care. Like the Jets fans didn't suffer this year because they did exactly what they wanted to do. It's just the last three games of the season where why would you win? But Jets fans were hyped the entire year. Like they were like, "Oh, another loss, boo hoo, boo hoo, boo hoo." Deep down inside, they're like, "We're getting Trevor Lawrence,"
I mean,
and then they just fumbled it
yeah.
at the end. But
Yeah.
the whole year, they were sure of it. They
You
they
probably
knew
would
they
have
were
got.
going 0-16. They knew.
I mean, what do you make of teams that they tank for that top pick? That like we'll use the Jets. Sorry, Jets fans, as an example. That draft those high ranking quarterbacks can't get anyone else around them, and they bury them. They killed them. Season one, like season
Sam
one,
Darnold,
season two, they burn. They crash and
like
burn.
like Sam Darnold,
Hey, yeah,
and they tried to do it again with Trevor Lawrence, thinking it was going to be better. Like,
but that's the whole point of it. I mean, it's like teams like the Knicks, my Knicks, that draft up high, draft 8 power forwards a year, um, and expect them to make big names of themselves or tank the last few games in hopes of a high lottery pick. And I genuinely actually like the lottery system. It stops those teams from getting exactly what they want. To tank the rest of the year just to get that top spot. It takes away the level of competition, obviously, but it's also like work for it. Like, you
Yeah,
may not have
that's
been the
true.
worst team, but we'll grant you a number one pick if you win this lottery by chance.
Hmm.
There's some depth to that. There's some good points to that. I'm not going to hate on my Knicks anymore after this point. We're 5-7. You know, this is a better start than most Knicks fans expected. But to the point, I mean, we get these high-ranking players, fill the organization with no type of help. They crash and burn, or they get traded away, like Kristaps Porzingis. And you know,
I can't even. I want to blame him for that, but
touchy
I can't even.
subject.
I can't even blame him for that because
I don't blame him.
he
I
went to
mean,
the org and said, "This is what I need you guys to do. You guys technically gave me the keys to this org.
shouldn't
I
every player do
need
that?
no
Why
because not
shouldn't Sam
everyone.
Darnold tell
Not
that to Jets president and owner?
because that's football.
Okay,
Football, you can't say get me this. You're gonna have to give them a 25-man list to make the Jets better. Like I'm not even trying to cut on the Jets because the Giants are the same way. They were like, if I'm a Giants player and I'm like, they're like Shane, give us your list of what we need. I'm going down the list,
hmm
and at the end of the day, they're gonna go, okay, so it's gonna take us about 10 years to get that because we don't have the cap space to get all of that right now.
yeah.
The Jets might have the cap room, but you're gonna tell what is he gonna say? I need a whole new offensive line. I need a whole new defensive line. I need a whole new defense in general. I need wide receivers because can you name a Jets wide receiver?
Uh,
You have to think.
Jamison Crowder.
You
Yeah, I
have
did
to
have to
think.
think. I'm thinking who was on my fantasy watch list at the end of the season, but
So you have to think about
it's
one
true.
wide receiver on the Jets. That
It's
means they
true.
don't have them. So you have to get that. They have to give all new running backs because Frank Gore is like 80 years old. He's not going to play for more than another year.
He's not
So
coming back to the Jets next year. That's also for sure.
so think about that. So you basically need 21 guys and their backups because if those guys aren't good enough to play now, they're not going to be good enough to back them up.
I got to give it to the NFL in general. Um, Despite the tanking teams and even with like this whole pandemic going on, they managed to get out in like a genuinely entertaining season.
Oh yeah.
It felt it
Oh
felt
yeah.
like a regular NFL season.
This was the
Like,
first time in a while that I was like glued to the TV watching
yeah,
football.
basketball felt different because of the bubble, right? Basketball's feeling a little bit more like basketball now because they're in their respective arenas and teams are traveling again. It's also a different time in terms of pandemic time. Baseball didn't feel like baseball this year. I'll give it that much. It felt like an exhibition, like
Yep.
something you do in MLB The Show tournament type of thing.
Seeing the
And
fans not react to a home run, it just hits one of the fans and the holographic
the
fans in the
little
head. It's like, nice.
yeah, that was not like fun to watch on
Yeah,
TV.
at all.
Aside from baseball being baseball and us being baseball lovers, there are some boring aspects to baseball. A baseball game is 4 hours. A Yankee game is 5 hours,
I'll
and it
say.
feels like 10. Especially when Michael K is announcing those games.
You don't like Michael K?
He he, he makes that game drag, man. If
Oh
there were
man.
ever like too many pauses in that in announcing, and as long as the Yankees hit, then that game is live.
Oh
But
my, that's what Paul O'Neill is for. Paul O'Neill is supposed to
yeah,
come in with the cool stories. He's like the Vin Scully that can't call the game. Like
they
if Paul
have
O'Neill was
the
there, exactly. If he was there by himself, I wouldn't listen. Michael K
yeah,
hit there by himself, turn it off.
no.
I would rather listen on mute. Like I'm not doing this.
I'll give it though because like I didn't even have Yes TV in my house this year. I was watching on streams and other
Mm-hmm.
forms of media just to watch a
Reddit.
Yankee game. But
Reddit
hey,
saved my life in college.
and honestly, uh, the NFL this year, I think out of all the sports, just felt like regular football. It this year specifically, the NFC least, as you said, was still as competitive as ever,
Yep.
just because of the way those teams performed. You had new stars rising in the NFL, making names for themselves. Josh Allen in Buffalo, um, Philip Rivers making a new home for himself in Indy, Lamar Jackson stapling himself to playoff victors. Patrick Mahomes, 14-2 Chiefs. There's a lot of buzz in the NFL now, especially because there's new, fresh faces that people can build that buzz off of. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, that era is fading.
I wouldn't even go that far because, Tom Brady's fading.
Well,
But I feel like that's just
that
because
era is. I feel like that generation of quarterback, the drop back, read the defense, throw a little dink and dunks, kind of let the plays unfold. We now have Lamar Jackson who breaks 60-yard runs. You have Patrick Mahomes who throws 3 touchdowns in the first half to Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. It's the one guy. I was gonna say it's the one guy.
It's a one guy. You got Josh Allen who's taking the ball himself or throwing 70-yard bombs, matching up with Stephon Diggs. There's a lot of young quarterbacks, rookies, Justin Herbert. Where else we got? Tua, just there. He's in Miami. He's there.
Tua is. I feel like we could leave that for the football episode because he's one of those guys where he's good, but his numbers don't show it, and it's like
there's stuff to be made there.
He went like what 5-2, but it's like
he went 5-2, and Fitzpatrick came and played in the other half of like 3 of them.
Yeah, and it's like he went 5-2 as a starter, but he's throwing for 85 yards in a game. And it's like, yeah, I understand you had 2 or 3 touchdowns, but it's like 85 yards total. Nah, that's not good enough.
Nah, listen. There's already reports of Deshaun Watson looking to be traded to Miami, which would be a nuclear bomb.
It would be good though because a lot of the players on the Dolphins straight up were because the coach was like, he's going to be our starter next year. Yeah. Don't worry about it. And players came out and were like,
no.
Why?
They said no. They were like,
he's
not fit. He's not ready. No, I mean nuclear bomb in terms of shaking up the NFL because Deshaun Watson has a team that is like a Super Bowl contender. Brian Flores led that Patriots team in 2018 against the Rams that shut them out 3 points. An offense that had Todd Gurley, Brandon Cooks, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods.
Let's not talk about Todd Gurley like Todd Gurley played in that Super Bowl.
He didn't because the Patriots shut him out.
No, Todd Gurley was never going to play in that Super Bowl.
He was
Todd
hurt.
Gurley, he was hurt. He was never playing. Who was the other guy? Whoever the backup was, the back. Yeah, like he was gonna get all of the touches regardless. And
I just think Brian Flores, as a defensive mind, built Miami. He took all of New England's linebackers. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever seen the players from New England from that team, 2018. As soon as he left to Miami in 2019, half their linebackers went there to Miami. Tom Brady saw him 2 times. Right? That's your coach.
Yeah.
The coach who play. He's young. It's a new scheme, a new team to build around. It's not cold as New England. I don't blame nobody for going to Miami at all. But overall, they get a quarterback. If they get not a quarterback. They get a Deshaun Watson. Shane, that team is set. They're set for at least a decade.
That's easily another 3 more wins.
Yeah.
And they already went. Well, they went 8-8 or 9-7 this year.
No. They missed the playoff spot at 10-6. 10-6.
Yeah, something crazy. And it's like
because Cleveland, Indianapolis, and Baltimore were ahead of them.
Yeah, ahead of them.
Shane, they were close. They were close. Listen, there's a lot going on in sports. We're really looking forward to 2021.